A quick thank you to all of my patrons. Your support is heavily appreciated. Even if God's a mushroom, I can kill it. Hello everyone, and welcome to this new video where I once again talk about cool new servants to use and shit. Now, I know what you're all thinking. Wow, Manpig, you are so on time! Only about 2 whole years late! And to that I must answer, I am, but who cares? Welcome to the new rerun of everyone's favorite crossover event, the Kyoukai crossover event, Garden of Order. The event where we barge into the flats of random servants to kill them, steal all of their resources, and do nothing else with the property. Repeat for all existing floors and flats of the building. We are indeed heroes of justice saving the world. So, of course, with this wonderful event coming up again, as well as my love for the story of Kyoukai, I just want to take a look at all of the servants this event will bring. I refuse to say new because I am indeed 2 years late. Except for one, but we'll talk about her later. So with that out of the way, let's begin and talk about the welfare of the event, Shiki Ryogi Assassin. Shiki is, coolly enough, the main character of Kyoukai, meaning that she has a lot of fans, and so it's super neat that everyone gets a good chance to get her. Now her gameplay, as we all know, is just as amazing as her character writing. With a single target arts NP that does a shitload of damage because of NP 5 and interlude later on, and evade with a crit damage up, damage steroid, NP charge, albeit at the cost of a little HP, as well as high star gen and high NP gen, she's just pretty much a top tier unit. It's also worth noting that while she does have high instant death chance, unless it's a casual mob you're killing, don't expect it to proc. Especially since she's a single target unit designed for 1v1 fights against difficult enemies. Enemies which are definitely not casual mobs, just don't expect to use it practically much at all. The ultra high NP damage alone is more than good enough to service for your efforts. There is one drawback to using Ryogi for your assassin, and that's her HP is kind of low for a gold unit. As such, she dies really easily in comparison thanks to that and her third skill demerit. It's not that horrible though, mind you, for a multiple of reasons. First of all is that she does have an evade, so her survivability isn't completely rubbish. She can tank NPs unless there's a pierce invo or sure hit. The other reason is because she's an arts unit. And you know what most healers and supports are? That's right, arts servants. Pair her with the big supports of any kind, specifically Tamamo if you have her, and boom, her survivability immediately shoots off far stronger. Not to mention, with Tamamo again, her damage consistency is far stronger as a result of the lower cooldowns and arts NP gaining. You may need to consider survivability on the support side since you'll be using Shiki against riders and riders kill casters quick, but still. It's safe to keep in mind since they are fantastic together. For potential CEs, I recommend going one of two ways, damage or survivability. NP gain and consistency is no problem with Shiki on her own. That's something she already does well. However, if you want to boost her damage instead to go ultra nuke on a single boy, you can do so. And honestly, that's probably the best option. If you want to instead prioritize survivability though, that's also a fair option since it is her main weakness. But due to the game's construction, I wouldn't prioritize it as much over damage. Still, something like Meat Wars or Necromancy might be solid to use. Now with the 4-star Shiki done, let's talk about the 5-star Shiki. Ryogi Shiki Void, Saber, and boy do I have some real things to say about how she's designed. Now, the thing about Shiki Void is that a lot of people give her shit because of 2 reasons. 1, she doesn't have solid defense like her assassin counterpart, and 2, she has a low attack stat meaning her normal damage doesn't amount to as much as it does for assassin. As well as finally 3, she's AoE instead of single target, and thus because of that, a lot of people label her as one of the most underwhelming sabers in the game on the same tier as, say, pre-buff Arthur. And I'm just gonna say this as clear as possible. Any rumor or word that says she's that low, it's bullshit. She's super good, and one of the best AoE sabers out there in my opinion. Now, I don't know if y'all realize this, but she makes up for her low attack with her 3 out of 5 turn attack buff, and similar Mystic Eye skill which is also AoE. Like, the Mystic Eye skill might not be 50%, but 40% really isn't that bad either. especially since unlike Assassin Shiki, she has a passive that gives her card effectiveness by 6% to all of her cards, making it effectively a 46% burst. Is that not great? I don't get it! Plus, as a trade-off for her lower attack stat, her high HP is not a bad thing to get either. She's AoE and arts, meaning you use her for stall fights to begin with. You pair her with Tamamo and John and not nuke him all in one turn like Merlin crits. Plus, she has an NP interlude now. So not only does her NP remove all ally debuffs on command, it also refunds 10% for everyone while ignoring any defense buffs and has the second highest AoE Saber NP damage in the game. What's this about her damage being shit? Count those numbers. Her damage slays, and that's fact. The only two problems I genuinely see in Shiki Void is her NP demerit for 3rd skill and lack of solid defense. For the former, yeah, I guess there is a demerit, but have you seen that heal too? It's the 2nd strongest heal on the game at a 4-turn cooldown. I personally think it's pretty worth it. Especially since after her buff, she can get that 10% charge right after her NP, so at most it's a timing thing. Second is solid defense, which, fair enough, she doesn't have. You know who else doesn't have solid defense? Artoria, Salter, Altera, Mordred, Arthur, Siegfried, Suzuki. Like, seriously, can you really call her one of the worst sabers in the game? Look at the facts, guys. This isn't bullshit, it's the truth. Saber Shiki is good, if not really good, if not debatably the best AoE saber in the entire game. Her damage output is high, her skills and buffs are consistent and active for most of the fight. Not to mention her high HP pairs ultra well with supports of her card type since she's meant for stalling to begin with. Her consistent damage that you can spam with art supports is useful for many fights, and her effects during her various skills and NP are plentiful. Plus, that instant death is actually relevant now since mobs are something she will often fight since she's an AoE servant. Unlike Assassin Shiki where you're going to be using her against bosses. Am I missing something here? It just seems like she's an all-around amazing package that's virtually flawless outside of the solid defense meme that people love to complain about that most AoE sabers lack anyways. Like, genuinely, I don't see many flaws with her, if at all. Overall, anyone who says Shiki Void isn't good needs to get their head out and look at the facts, because the numbers don't lie. She's one solid unit, especially post-buff. For an art saber, you actually can't get a better unit, and as a servant, she's extremely worth rolling for. For CEs, she's very versatile. Similar to a unit like BB, if you want to go damage, go for it. If you want survivability, go for it. If you want NP gen or consistency, go for it. Perhaps less on critical damage and star gen stuff since she isn't as crit focused, but I just can't think of anything that's actually wrong on her. She's amazing, undeserving of any of the bad reps she gets, and 100% worth rolling hard for. And with that, we've covered the old units that most of us should be familiar with. But oh wait, oh boy. We still have one new unit to talk about since this rerun is bringing us one more new servant. Yup, another new 4-star that I've personally been waiting very long for. You all knew this was coming, and I've been waiting for it. Let's talk about my wife, Fujino Asagami. Now, Fujino is going to be our new 4-star that's on raid up with Shiki Void, and unlike most of the 4-stars, she's unfortunately a limited servant just like her. And even more unfortunately, this is the only raid up she has and will potentially ever get. Yep, even on JP. That means, if you miss her this time, you'll never be able to get her again. She is 100% the rarest and hardest servant to obtain ever, so that alone should be some big incentive to roll. But if that isn't enough, don't worry. Unlike a certain precious lovely daughter of a caster that shares a similar status of rarity, she's also got her gameplay to back up her worth even further. I'm sorry, Mio, my sweetie pie. If I was in charge, you would be designed so much better. They did you so dirty. I'm so sorry. See, the thing about Fujino is that her strengths aren't very evident when you immediately look at her numbers. Her stats are really great, especially her attack stat, but her skill effects don't really seem that special in comparison. Her damage, steroid, and NP gain don't seem too strong, and her second skill is basically sure hit with an instinct for 3 turns. Finally, her last skill is just a defense buff with a 1 HP guts that lasts 3 turns, so just overall it doesn't seem that amazing from numbers alone. But 2 things. First off, look at how long those effects are active again. Then look at the cooldowns. Yep, 3 out of 5 turns for all of the skills. Immediately you can hopefully see the point. These are something you activate and forget, and press when they're open again. They are constantly in use in actual combat and can help Fujino become far more consistent as a lone unit in comparison to most other servants in the game. Consistency is the key here. Her skills being active for most of the fight really gives her an edge that most units don't have. A 3-turn guts on a 5-turn cooldown is really good. Same with her buster buff, sure hit, and NP gain effects. Also, while her last skill technically has a demerit, it's kind of forgettable since you only really use it as a guts and a defense skill when you're on lower HP. The demerit is almost like a reminder not to use the skill early on. And it's worth it, because her defense buff is actually a really solid damage cut that lasts 3 turns. At max level, this is a 2000 damage cut. That's as much as Mash's Wall of Snowflakes damage cut, except instead of 1 hit, it lasts 3 out of 5 turns. That's really strong in practice, especially if you pair it with Mash or Waver. Also, her passes are really good, and while her NP isn't as amazing as the rest of her kit, it does the job fine until it gets a buff. And it better get a buff. The light works. Make my wife OP. Now, basically with Fujino, consistency is key. I recommend more damage because while her damage isn't bad, it's also not the most top tier either, and would heavily benefit from more stuff. Also, arts-based CEs and supports help surprisingly well as Fujino relies on her arts card a lot as well due to her constantly active NP gain skill and deck. For supports, I actually recommend Tamamo since shortening her cooldowns benefits her an insane bunch, although obviously other buster damage buffers work. Hans is also nice because she has minor crit potential as an archer. Overall, while Fujino isn't the best archer in the game, she's still fantastic, and both really fun to use as well as extremely effective in what she does. Highly recommend rolling for her along with Shiki Void, as both units are super good. Anyway, with all of that being said and done, it's simply easy to conclude that the Karno Kyoukai banner is a fantastic banner with 2 amazing servants to roll for, and that's even excluding the bias I have for the series as is. If you have some quartz, definitely spend a solid amount for these servants, as I most certainly will myself. And if you don't have that, at least grind that event for that welfare Shiki. She's so good. Regardless, good luck to everyone, especially to those rolling for my wife Fujino, and I hope we all get our happy rewards as a result. So now, I merely wish that we all enjoy the rest of our days. See you all next time, somewhere on the internet.